I'm Haley from Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., a podcast member of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the one you're listening to now. The opinions expressed are those of each individual. Check out all the other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com and get ready because geekiness begins in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Better Podcasting, a show where we talk about podcast tips, tools, and best practices to help you succeed with your podcast. What makes us different? Well, just like you, we podcast purely out of the love and fun of it. Podcasting is our hobby, and we recognize that it's yours too. We always encourage your questions and feedback, and you can find all of our contact information at betterpodcasting.com. Here's your host for the show, Stephen John Drew and Stargate Pioneer.
Hello and welcome to episode 9 of Better Podcasting. I'm Stephen John Drew, and with me is
Stargate Pioneer! Woohoo! You know what 9 means? We're over that hump that podcasts get over, that pod fade under 10, right? So It's like 7 or 8. We're at 9, so we're going for it.
And it's really 10 if you include the 0, right?
Yeah, sure, we're at 10. I like it.
And I like to think that our level of pod fade was a lot lower, considering like all of this video and back and everything was all done primarily for this podcast. So I like to think that we put so much time into it that our goal number was like 5. That's what I was thinking. But
I don't know. I don't know if I would ever wish anybody a 10-month ramp up to launch. Really, that is excessive.
I agree. By the way, it is the winter Christmas holiday season when we're recording this. We're not making this a Christmas cast or anything like that, but it is something, though. We'll acknowledge that it's a little bit shorter this week because we do have family to see and holiday festivities to be had.
And Star Wars to go see.
That's true. Star Wars is a wonderful film.
It is. We've actually, at the time we're recording, we both watched it. And yes, I am dating this podcast, but I waited so many years for it. So it was great. And I'm sure if you want to hear all about it, go over to GonnaGeek.com. And when we come back from the holidays, we will talk all about it.
Absolutely. So what are we doing today? Today is the third and final installment in our series on podcast gear. Last week, we talked about SP's gear. Week before that, we talked about mine. This week, we are going to talk about both of them all over. No, I'm just kidding. We're talking about this week our immediate wish list, because SP and I both have an extensive to purchase one day list, which rapidly changes as other gear comes in and out of the equation. But we do have some things that are personally on the forefront of our list. Now, some of these things may be a little bit more attainable than others. Some of them may be bigger hopes, but maybe can be realistic hopes. So, SP, let's just start it off here with our very, very first what is immediately on your hope list?
Oh, absolutely. I want a digital processor, a DBX286S, and that will solve a lot of the issues that I have with my personal sound. Now, do I need one? No. As we said over and over, what you need is an AT2005 ATR2100, simple USB microphone. So you don't need these massive amounts of gear. But what you do need is to sound good. And after you edit yourself for a couple of years, you're like, I have a semblance in my voice. And what does that mean? It means whenever I say s, it just comes through a little bit too biting. So the DBX286S has a lot of things to it. It has a gain capability, just like Steven's mini mic 800, is it? The Behringer Mini Mic 800, I believe that is what it is.
That is true.
Yes.
That is true.
So it has gain and it has different effects that can work on it, like a de-esser. So I want that de-esser, and I want the noise gate that comes with it, and which is not really relevant in my studio because it's not like you ever hear the dog barking next door or the trucks going by or the airplane flying overhead. You just in my studio you don't really get that, so it's not a big deal. But it's my personal voice that I want to enhance, and I also want gain so I can back away from the microphone and not be right on it, so you get the plosives as much as you do. So it's just a couple of things that I've noticed with my voice that I want it to move, advance myself with, advance my capabilities with.
That's great. That's great. I will just take this jumping point to say that the DBX286 is also on my list. Is it one of the higher things on my list? It's in the last few weeks, yes, it has moved up the ladder, but there are some other things that are a little bit higher for me. But the 286 is something that I would like to replace that mini mic with. Just there's some things that I think I might get enhanced by having this BP40 by going to the 286. Now, when I bought the Mini Mic 800, I mentioned this before, I actually bought that originally to do a phantom powered microphone. So that's why I had that and I chose that. It was an inexpensive way to do it, but I'd like to get a DBX 286 for sure.
So if that's not the top on your list, what is the top on your list?
Here's what I want, because I'm the guy that on the Gonna Geek main podcast, and when we do end up doing Better Podcasting live, I'm the guy that controls all of the different sounds and the one that actually essentially is sending out the live signal. So for me, I want a 4-channel compressor or a compressor that has 4 channels. Now, here's the thing. I don't actually have mine down to a specific model because there's a couple of different ways that I could go with it. Because this is going to be something that is primarily going to act as a gate. What I want to do it to, yes, partially keep our levels on the Gonna Geek podcast somewhat even, but I also want to do it because if you've ever used Skype before, there is a constant hiss that comes through with Skype. It is there. And the more machines you add into the equation, the more of this hiss that you get. I want to have this compressor so that when one person stops talking, like SP is right now, it would actually close that track and I would lose that hiss. This is something that I'm looking to always improve our live experience. If you've ever watched one of our live podcasts on the Gonna Geek Network, you'll see that there's always edit points and things that we accidentally make mistakes and come back and set ourselves up to be able to edit in the future. But how can I make that live experience the best that it can be? And that's probably the number one thing right now for me in sort of the realm of the bigger gear, because it would improve that live experience quite a bit, considering that I have 3, sometimes 4 separate Skype machines coming in. The other thing too is as people are working away and they're not on camera, sometimes people type keys, they grab things from drawers. If I set that compressor right, you won't actually hear that in the live feed. And that's something that's why that is one of my big to-dos. I've got it down to a couple of them. If I was going to just go the inexpensive route, it would be the Behringer MDX 4600 because it would do what I want to do. But you lose some features. So I am thinking there's actually a couple DBX products, not the 286, I believe it's the 166. I believe that has the gate, but no preamp in it.
It's either the 166 or the 266. I can't remember which one it is. And as far as you're talking, one of the things that I would like to do is I would like to auto diminish. What is it called? Auto diminish your sound as
auto
it's
duck?
Playing. Auto duck. Thank you. So I would like to auto duck my intro music as we start talking on Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. or Starling Tribune. And one way to do that is to use like an MDX 2600, a Behringer MDX 2600.
Yeah.
And you can do that by going into one of the channels and having a couple of feeds in there or whatever. I would love to experiment with that. I would love to see where it goes. Now, do you need one? No. I
No.
could. You've seen my mixer. I can ride the fader. Basically, I can bring it down, but that means I'll have to remember to push it back up. And knowing me, I won't. So when I go to play the next bump or whatever, it's like, where is it? I can't hear it. So
Been there,
that's
done
why.
that.
Yeah, that's why the auto duck thing. And on Gonna Geek, that is something that as a co-host, I or one of the other co-hosts has frequently talked over one of the bumps, and so you don't get a good recording of what they're saying. And sometimes it's really funny. So you want to back that out in editing, and you want to just have what they're saying. And for those of you that don't know, if you're going in and out of Skype, if people overtalk, or if you have music playing, then it diminishes the sound that's actually coming in on the other end. It's just the way Skype works. So if you could automatically duck that sound as it's coming out of you, then you have a better chance of hearing what the other individual is saying. And I would like that capability. It is an advanced capability, but it's something that you could do as a home podcaster. And I would like to experiment with that.
For sure. For sure. So what's number 2 on my list? Because this is by far a close number 2. I only prioritize the compressor because I really am trying to improve that live experience over on Gonna Geek. But this is something that I could benefit from, but I have my setup in such a situation that I haven't needed it yet. It is the Audio Technica AT8484. SP, do you know what that is?
No, I don't. What is it?
It is the shock mount for the BP40. That's what it is.
So, there you go.
The shock mount, if I was to yard on this right now, and I'm not going to, but if I was, you would hear everything to do with my stand, because I do not have a shock mount on it, and this is very, very loud. I actually had that in my review when I reviewed this microphone. But I would like to get that shock mount just because as occasionally I do bang my desk. I try to sit pretty still. I've got things set up in a situation where it's not the end of the world if I don't have it, but I would like to have that. And I usually am a shock mount guy. It's just finding a shock mount for this wide thing is not easy. Not easy.
Shock mounts are so necessary sometimes, especially if you have a desk-mounted stand. And we talked about it with both of our gear. You can actually see it if you're on YouTube right now. I have a shock mount on my Sennheiser E935. But one of my co-hosts on Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., Lauren, uses a desk-mounted stand with her Audio-Technica AT2005, and she loves to pound on her desk because she gets excited. And we tried to remove as much as that as possible, and she does have a shock mount on it, which helps. We also actually further shock mount the desk stand by putting a towel underneath it, so she tries to mitigate it as much as possible. But shock mounts, I in my particular case, my microphone is not even attached to the desk that I'm using. So any noise that you would hear from me doing the keystrokes or whatever isn't coming through the physical vibrations of the desk. It is actually the sound propagating through it. But I like shock mounts very much. And it just pains me when I happen to think of a microphone that doesn't have a shock mount on it, because I'm like, oh, that's not something that I want to do. Yeah. But that microphone that you got, that is sweet. That BP40, I so want one.
All right, I'm gonna do it. There you go. There you go. I had to do it. But that's why I want a shock mount, because I'm always grabbing my mic stand in the middle of a podcast. But still.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you're producing, you're like, you're doing stuff over here, you're doing stuff over there. So if you can take the mic with you, it helps.
All right. So what do you got on your number 2 spot?
Well, because I have a little bit bassier sound than you.
I think I know. Know. Should I guess?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that is the Electro Voice RE320. That's what I think it is.
It is. Now, actually, I would like the RE20. If I'm just, have as much money in the world, I will go with the RE20. And that is above the RE27ND, by the way, because I've heard that the 20 has less effects on it than the 27. But as a podcaster, I don't have an unlimited amount of budget, so I will go with the RE320. I love that microphone, and I think it would fit my voice. From everybody that I've heard that has used it on mic shootouts, on YouTube, and everything, I think the RE320 is perfect for my voice. So yeah, I really would like one.
I agree. I think it's going to be a phenomenal mic when you get it one day.
So one of the reasons why I want a larger diaphragm microphone like Steven has, as I noted with the digital processor, is I want to be able to pull away from the microphone and not get that proximity effect. And in order to do that, you need something to drive the gain a little bit. So you need the digital processor and you need a larger diaphragm microphone, such as the BP40, the RE320, the Shure SM7B, and that class of microphone. So high LPR40, a lot of people like that one too. I think it has a little bit too much bottom end for me. So we'll see.
Yeah. No, it does sound like it does have a fairly heavy bottom end.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, I would really like a larger diaphragm microphone because of those reasons, because I want to sound better for myself and for the listener as well.
For sure. For sure. Okay. So what do I got else-wise on my list? Well, for me personally, well, actually, you know what, SP, you go ahead and you start us off with number 3. We were bouncing back and forth, so you go ahead.
Well, I just did my microphone, but what else would I want? I would like a digital video camera. And as you saw last episode, we did the side shot using my iPhone 6. And I would like for that to either be a Logitech C920, or if I'm doing an unboxing video or whatever, I want to be able to record that and I want to be able to have it on a separate camera. So a digital camera, 1080, I don't think I'll need 4K, at least not yet, would be great to have and at the level. And I also want to be able to take it on mobile shots or whatever, get a shotgun microphone or whatever. So it's got to have a microphone input into it, whether it's 2.5 millimeter, 3.5 millimeter, or some sort of a digital input as well. That'd be great. I don't have a specific model in mind. That is is simply on the far wish list there. I would like to have one.
For sure. For sure. One of the reasons why I just randomly tossed it to you was because I had to go and double check your model number, because the number 3 one that I have, and I'll be honest, while this is high on my list, on my realistic likely to buy list, I have a lot of other things that probably I would get before I would put the money towards this at this time. Is your Mackie Pro FX 16 V2. Sorry, FX 16 V2. Is that what it is?
Yep. The V2s are brand new this year, by the way. They've had the Pro FX 16 or the Pro FX series before. The Mackie has just recently redone all their lines, so V2 with the Pro FX is what's current.
And why do I want that? Well, I mentioned it. I have the live setup here that we use on the Gonna Geek podcast, and I am really, really, really pushing my board. And actually, over our winter break that we've got, our Christmas break here that we have, I'm doing a rewire to, I believe, finally say that I have used and manipulated this board as much as it can go. I think when it's done, I will have absolutely manipulated it in all sorts of ways it was never ever meant to be used. But because of that, I gotta make sure I got room to grow. So that would be something that I would like to get. But it's probably further down on the list for sure. It probably will end up realistically being purchased later down the road.
Right. Now, Mackie has a couple of options. They have the USB mixer, which is the Pro FX mixer. I think since you don't really use the USB capability of the Behringer, I think you would like the Mackie VLZ4 line a little bit better, but it's something to look into. It's a little bit more expensive. We actually have a co-host on the Gonna Geek Network that just got one, a smaller one.
Yeah.
But it is a nice mixer.
Absolutely. All right. So what else do I have on my list? Well, one thing that I
know.
Okay. What do you think? What do you think I'm going to say?
Some sort of multi-track digital recorder.
That is absolutely the case. I was going to say the Zoom H6 is currently the front runner, but I don't know. There is a Zoom R16, which might better suit my needs. It is something that I like to be able to record all of my, because I have the Skype sessions in my array of Skypeosaurus all coming in separately. I like to be able to record everybody separate so that, like, let's say all of a sudden SP today goes, oh shoot, my Zoom didn't record for some reason. then I've got his track to pull from my end separately, and I don't have to go and take the big mix of everybody. I still can continuing my multi-track editing process and just use my copy. So that's what I want to do. And as such, that means that I do have to look at something in the higher end, the 6-channel or greater multi-track recorder. So the Zoom H6 is probably the front runner because of the simplicity. I know it works. SP has been using it for a long time. I really like how last time we showed you that it's mountable. I think that that's a really nice feature of it. But the R16 would give me, like I said, with the board, some room to grow.
Yeah, I do think so. The Zoom H6 is a great portable digital recorder, and it does do up to 6 tracks. I'm looking at it right now. That's why my eyes are going to the side. It was a great find, and it was expensive when I bought it, but it has served its purpose, and I'm really glad I have it to date. The R16 is great. Now, okay, so let's back up a second. These are the hundreds of dollars of digital recorders. You saw my Zoom H5 last time around. If you get one of the rack mountable ones that connect to your computer via FireWire or some sort of digital connection like fiber or whatever, you can easily go into the thousands of dollars. Like what was that called? The Apollo 8 rack mounted system, whatever, where you get 8 tracks, but you control them all on your computer. Okay, that's starting to get into the professional studio, which might eventually be doable on a home hobby podcaster studio budget, but really it's the aficionado that can afford to do something like that now.
Agreed. And I'll tell you the one other problem that you have with that is I'm pointing over here because if you ever see me look over this way, it's because I have a separate monitor over here hooked up to my separate recording machine. And if I was to do a digital sort of thing like that, I would want to do the same process, have a separate machine that's dedicated just for that, right? So space-wise, that's actually one of the reasons why I do want a multi-track physical recorder. I can gain back that room that I have.
And there's also Behringer has the UFX series of mixers right now that you can multi-track record off a USB stick right on the mixer itself. I heard a couple of people using it. It's not really quote unquote road tested. I don't know about their longevity. I don't know what the percentage of them breaking or whatever. And they are more expensive definitely than the normal Behringer mixer. But that capability is coming to a studio near you in a couple of years. These the new Tascam digital recorders with Wi-Fi in them. That's cool. And everything. Very cool. I mean, the Zooms still outdo them with the capability for multiple XLR with the removable top and everything. But the new line of Tascams are pretty cool. Agreed.
All right, what else is hovering high on your list?
Well, I hate to say it, but I think if I want to continue to do video that's not on Blab, like we're doing here with Better Podcasting or Gonna Geek, I need a Skyposaurus. So multiple sound cards, and I eventually will head that way, but it'll probably be a little creep, little bit at a time, just a little bit, until I finally get there.
Yeah. And, on that matter, one thing that I would like to have that is constantly on my mind is I would like to play with some other video switching software because a long time ago when I got into the video switching and trying this, I ended up on XSplit for 2 reasons. Number 1, the affordability. Number 2, because of the fact that it on my old machine worked a lot better. But the first one that I actually used was a program called vMix, and I really liked it. I actually thought when I went to XSplit, I was missing out on some features that I was looking forward to having with vMix. But the thing is, it's more expensive. So I want to play a little bit with that because there are some extra neat features that I played a little bit with. They've got a network stream capability so that you run essentially a vMix client on another computer, and then it hooks up to your main video switching computer and so it shows up as a source. So it kind of does it all behind the scene. There's a little bit of a lag, but not much. Enough that you would probably actually be okay with it.
Yeah, if you're just starting out with audio podcasting, by the way, and you're listening to the show, like, okay, I want to know how to start audio podcasting. We did that great 6-part series that we started out with. We'll get more in depth in a lot of those topics as we go along. Right now, I would say that Stephen and I are at the initial stages of the video podcasting realm, where we're just tipping our toe into it. Actually, Stephen's more like jumped in with
that's true.
with his skivvies in or whatever. But I am a little getting into it a little bit more. One of the things that kind of held me back from that is because Blab became available, and Blab is a great. We've talked about it before. It's an integrated capability where you can have interaction with your listeners and viewers right then and there, and it's really a great capability. But it is simply one screen with 1 to 4 people on it, and that's it. And so you can't get this wonderful split screen that we have on Better Podcasting, or the quad block that we have with Google Podcast with Gonna Geek Podcasting.
What, with a Google podcast now? What?
Yeah. Hey, Google, if you want a podcaster, yeah, we could do that. Okay. Anyway, I think that, the video software that you were talking about, vMix, XSplit, if you want to go professional, and some people are thinking about it, the TriCaster is the way to go. You're talking $10,000 to $40,000 with the different models there. So, this is all doable on the hobby podcaster's budget with XSplit and vMix, and it does take some. If you thought audio podcasting was difficult, wait till you get to video podcasting. And we do have a friend, Suncast, who does the video production over at the GFQ network, and he has some great advice. We're going to have him on, talk about video podcasting
for sure.
Eventually, because it's definitely a skill set for the more advanced hobby podcaster, but it's something that can be done.
For sure. All right, so I'm just going to run down a couple quick things that I want to give some honorable mentions to. Number 1 is, once again, with video. You'll see I've got this nice little shadow as I move around here. There's a nice little shadow that I have. So I want to get some reflectors or even some diffusers for my lights so that I can better position them, because it does bug me how uneven my lighting is. Unfortunately, I have not been like SP, where he's been able to get relatively easy lighting for a fairly simple setup. Because I have a big hutch in front of me and it's against a wall, I don't have a lot of places to bounce light on, so I got to add those in. So that is one of the things there. The other thing that I would really, really, really like to get at some point would be a pair of those Audio Technica ATH M40X headphones, because I like these Shure SRH 440s, but the Audio Technicas, number 1, come on sale a lot more. Number 2, I know more people who use them. And number 3, are supposed to be more comfortable than these. And I would like to do a head-to-head comparison. So that is what I would like to do, and get a pair of those, because I would really like to know, if I was to recommend one of the two, maybe these are grossly better for all we know, audio-wise. I highly doubt it, but I would like to be able to actually compare the two.
Yeah, I've done some research into it and seen people that have done the head-to-head comparison with the audio, and they really don't. We'll see what Steven comes up with, basically. But the reason why I didn't go with them is because the reviews that I had read over, you're going to have to spend more money on advanced ear cups and more money on padding for the headband, and that's the only reason why I didn't go there. But it's been working for Steven, and he intentionally chose those because he wanted to have something different as a basis for. So we'll see what he comes up with.
Absolutely. One of the other things that I would really, really like to have is an inline equalizer. Now, once again, just like the compressor, I don't have this narrowed down. There's a couple different ones that have been on my radar. There is the DBX. It is the DBX 231S. It is a dual channel 31 band equalizer. I'd like to have two bands there to play with. And the other one is the Behringer FBQ 3102. Now, believe it or not, the Behringer actually does have a couple extra things over the DBX, but I don't know that I need those, and the DBX is supposed to do its job slightly better. So that is something that I'm leaning a little bit towards that. The advantage with the Behringer one is that they do also sell the 1502, which if I did want to go ahead and just get into the single equalizer, I can get that as well. But I think I'm leaning a little bit more towards the DBX just because it's got some good reviews on it.
You're not fooling the listener, Steven. The reason why you want an equalizer is you want one with the lights to put right behind you on that shelf and have all the lights go up and down as the podcast is
That
going.
would be amazing. I didn't think of that. Oh, I like that.
What do you mean you didn't think about it? The only reason I'm talking about it is because you told me that's what you wanted to do like 3 months ago.
That was before the stand, though. I didn't think to actually put it on the stand. I thought that was gone before when I built the stand, but I didn't think to actually put it on the stand.
It took you until podcast 9 to figure out you can combine the two.
I like that. I actually don't know that I would do it because my cord management would be horrible. So, but I do want it because once again, that live experience. I do apply a little bit of EQ in post production, even with the BP40. I do put a little bit on it, and I would like to have that on my inline so that the live stream did have that applied as well.
Yeah, I'm like the uninitiated, I guess, with EQ. I don't mess with it. Everything's straight up and down, normal, and if I have to mess with it, I mess with it in post. I don't do anything live, but Steven's all about trying to get radio quality sound to the listener live on Blab or YouTube Live or whatever. That's what Steven's trying to get to you.
It's funny. My first experience with EQ was actually a podcast that we both listened to, and they started doing a live feed, and all of a sudden, like it was a Thursday night session, and all of a sudden I'm like messaging the people being like, hey, so-and-so sounds a little bit off. Like they sound thin tonight. And then I realized quickly it was EQ was applied in post-production. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I started playing with EQ from there. So that's my backstory with it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's where I originated from. That's where I first started podcasting. So Chuck, Juan, thank you very much for introducing me to podcasting. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, and the last honorable mention that I do have tonight is going to be to get myself another. I don't know why I went to hold up this. This is not what I was talking about. I was gonna talk about the C920. The C920. I need to get myself another C920, especially after last week with your ability to set up an extra shot. I just love that. I thought that was really, really great, and I would like to work that into my equation. I know you didn't use the C920 last week, but still, that was your intention when you bought one, and that's what I would like to have. I would like to be able to do that at some point.
Yeah, after we did that again, I'm thinking, if I get something for Christmas, I will probably use that shot for unboxing and stuff like that. So we will see what comes with Santa Claus this year, and if anything. So who knows? You have family members that don't know anything about podcasting, just that you podcast all the time, so they don't know what to buy. So they really don't.
That's true.
I mean, they could listen to this podcast and figure it out, but it's too late.
That's true. True. What do you got on your quick sort of honorable mention list?
Oh, there's just so much. Like a new tablet, maybe. I've got a Surface RT that I'm reading the chat room. We talked about it last time. I would like to upgrade that because Surface RT is now at least 3 generations back, and I would like to increase that. Maybe get a bigger one. I like how I'm able to mount it on my hutch, just right above the monitor that I have. I really like that. But I would like a newer, maybe an iPad Air for the soundboard / reading comics. That would be great. Every year there's a new cell phone that comes out. So I was like, I want a new iPhone 6S Plus. But they cost so dang much. I'll probably use that for 3 years before it finally gets too slow there. I'm like, I need a new one now.
Yeah.
And I would like some 1 terabyte SSDs to fit in both my made podcast rig and my laptop because they are so slow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be great. And we've made our mark. I'm not going to say the price point here, but if it goes below a certain price point, we are getting them, or at least I am buying them no matter what, because it's like, okay, eventually they'll go down in price. Eventually it'll be like $50 or whatever for it, but they are like $300 to $500 right now. I'm like, no, I'm not going to get a 1 terabyte drive that costs $300. It's just not going to happen. I'm fine with what I have.
Agreed. One thing that you just actually reminded me of, I don't know why you did, but this is a low low list honorable mention just because it would be far too expensive, but I would like to get myself some extra HD PVR rockets to throw in line of my monitors, because there have been times where I would have liked to have gone and grabbed just one person's camera shot. But that's become low because I've prioritized vMix since I've discovered that the very, 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 very expensive version can actually do that on its own. But the thing is, though, it's very, 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 very expensive to get that feature. So probably the PVR rocket is still a little bit higher. So, right. But it would be a good hobby podcaster solution to be able to have that ability. But I guess it would be a hobby vidcaster.
That's right. I actually probably would need to start looking into that capability as well with the offboarding video. But also, I guess the last thing that I'll mention this time around is the dynamic microphone headphones that they use for like sportscasting, like the Audio Technica BP-HS ones, I believe they are. They're like $200, but they go up to like $500 if you're talking Shure's or the Sennheisers or whatever. I would like to get those. These are not USB headsets, by the way. No. They are XLR headphones with a dynamic microphone, and you see if you watch hockey, if you watch football, if you watch basketball, you will see these sportscasters with microphones and chat headsets basically that are right in front of their mouth, and they sound like they're in a studio with noise background that they're able to mitigate. And those it would be interesting to try one, but if I did get the large diaphragm microphone like you had, the BP40, I can guarantee you the sound wouldn't be the same.
No.
It'd be probably a similar sound like I'm getting now with the Sennheiser, but not the great sound like you could get with a large diaphragm. So I would only want to use one if I was in a situation where I had to produce and move around, like a live production,
right?
As well. And that brings, so I lied. That wasn't the last. So the last would be if we ever did a meetup in person or a panel or whatever, and we were in a room that did not have previous sound in there, I would like some live speakers. But, that's so far down the list. I just don't, because we live so far away, I don't see it happening. So I don't think it's going to be an issue.
Agreed. The only other possible thing that I should give an honorable mention to that I just thought of right now as I was flipping my camera was I got some modification ideas that I would like to do with this stand, and I've talked to SP about it. So that is actually higher up on my list, but it's going to be one of those moments where I have an idea in here. It's going to take some creativity and some craftsmanship. And one day I will be browsing the right store or browsing the right website, and I'll see what I need, and then I'll make it happen. But I'll tease you with that. But I want, when I built this backdrop, I wanted it to be able to be evolved over the years. And that's something I think will be fun to evolve it.
Yeah, you know what? We should, in one of the new episodes coming up in January, February, go over how much we spent on our backdrops and how cheaply you can actually do it.
I agree.
I think that's a good one.
And I'm in Canada, and I built this, and nothing's cheap in Canada. So
no, you actually sawed down the tree. You went to the lumber yard.
I did.
And I'm still kind of baffled on how you went to the ocean and got that frosted glass made. Is it ice? Is it from the Arctic? I don't know. You're going to have to tell me.
It's actually the wall of my igloo. That's what it is. That's the wall of my igloo right there. So, but like we mentioned at the top of the show, this is a bit shorter of an episode today. It is, like I said, the holiday season. So we're going to go ahead and wrap her up for tonight. We do want to just remind you that we are part of the Gonna Geek Network at GonnaGeekNetwork.com, and definitely check out all of the great shows on there. Check out the Starling Tribune if you like Arrow. Check out Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. if you like the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. television show. Just go to GonnaGeekNetwork.com. There is a variety of great geeky podcasts on there. So
my newest favorite podcast on the network, Nerd Alert News. Way to go, Chris. Thanks for bringing that to the network.
Agreed. Very, very good place to get your geeky news if you are into geeky things. But for episode 9 of Better Podcasting, the last of 2015, because we will be away next week, I'm Stephen Johndrew.
And I'm Stargate Pioneer.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. and happy Festivus.
Happy holidays, guys. Merry Christmas. And may your 2016 bring you all your podcasting goals you want.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Better Podcasting. We want to hear from you. You can find all of our contact information at betterpodcasting.com. If you like the show, please consider giving us a 5-star review in iTunes. Thanks for listening, and we will see you again next week.